Alright, and welcome to the next Kaupen Daily Yap over here. This should be the fourth one, if I recall correctly. And let's get straight into it. Today's topic, I thought about this for a little bit. Today's topic is, do not let them poison your mind. And this is, I think, one of the most sort of important topics that we can talk about, especially in today's world, especially with social media and TikTok and shorts and yeah. And of course, I am part of the world as well. So don't get me wrong. Yes, there is, I would say, a little bit of hypocrisy in here. But regardless, let's just see if we can sort of untangle this. So, number one, let's talk online first. Basically, everyone online is trying to manipulate you in some way. This is not always malicious, right? Because I think manipulate has a very bad connotation for obvious reasons. But the manipulation can sometimes be, well, they're trying to entertain you, which is kind of a manipulation. They're trying to get you from one sort of emotional state to another. And then you follow them and possibly you donate to them, or you watch a Twitch stream, or, you know, and you buy a sub or something like that. So there is some amount of that going on. But I don't think that these are the, let's say, the manipulations, quote unquote, that I would want to focus on. I would want to focus on some of the things that could be quite, I don't know if I want to say harmful necessarily, but maybe harmful. I think it's really interesting that when this has probably happened to you in the past, when you're on the street, maybe you were like going to the bus station or the, you know, the main station, train station, something like that, and someone is approaching you for like a charity, or they want to sell you something on the street, or this like these scams where some people you know, like they basically scam you and saying, oh, I'm like mute and deaf, and, you know, sign this petition and give this much money. And probably you have run into one of those things in your life, I would assume. And I would also assume that a lot of you have probably just been like, okay, just like F off. Maybe not in those terms, but basically said, I'm not interested. Goodbye, continue, whatever. So you just continued and you didn't, let's say, like fall for the scam, quote unquote. Now, my question is like, why do you then fall for the same thing online? Right? Because that's like literally the same thing. I reload the YouTube front page, right? And I get bombarded with things like, I don't even know, like, oh, this is make $100 million in the next 5 months. Or, you know, I mean, it's a little hyperbolic, but you know what I mean. Right? Like I locked myself in a room until I made $1 million. It's an interesting concept of a video. It might be interesting to look at. Has 1 million views. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, I mean, it might have some amount of entertainment value as well, but like that's an interesting thing where it's like, and it might even contain valuable information. I don't dispute that. It is quite interesting though that sort of our guards are a little bit more down when we're online versus there. So I don't know how to think about that. But yeah, going back to don't let them poison your mind. What do I mean by that? I mean by that is that sometimes you want to, you get some information, right? You're watching, I don't even know what it is, any type of educational content. And you're hearing this and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. And it sort of makes sense when you think about it, but there's a gut feeling that's like, something here ain't right. And more often than not, I personally would say, your gut feeling knows more than when it, you know, they're going off with data. Also with data, right? When people cite you 1,000 different like statistics, number one, if they don't cite you the studies, then disregard everything. If the study's like 50 years old that they're citing you, and there's literally no new studies that they're citing, probably also not reliable data. And there is a famous quote. What is it? It's like, I don't trust any statistic that I didn't fake myself. Something like that, right? Yeah, because you can very easily manipulate statistics and data because statistics are so counterintuitive that it can sometimes be very easy to fall for that. And I think more often than not, if you have a gut feeling and you're like, this somehow doesn't feel quite right, you should probably go with that gut feeling, because that usually it tells you something is off in a way that is sort of what would you say? It's subconscious, right? So that's why you feel like there's something there. So this is going for anything, right? If they're telling you, oh, I mean, it doesn't even matter. These people are bad. They just want your money. These people are whatever, right? So I don't want to get into specifics, but the idea. One of the things I was thinking about specifically with them, don't let them poison your mind, was sometimes with the like extreme red pill content. That was one of the things that was sort of, well, thinking about the that specific phrase as well, because it's sort of like, yeah, there's obviously some amount of advice in that bucket, as in probably almost with everyone, right? Like everyone's going to give you some amount of good advice, and you can learn from everyone. So that's the point. But, you know, don't take on every single thing without thinking about it for yourself for at least a little bit, right? Just because you're like, okay, they, you know, let's say, for example, oh, you should work out. Yeah, of course. Like, yes, every single human being on this planet should work out. I think that is a very good idea, right? That doesn't mean that you have to then follow all of the other 18 steps or 19 steps in their 20-step program, because that's not, just because one thing is good doesn't mean that everything they say is good. So what is the quote? Stannis Baratheon. The good doesn't wash out the bad, but the bad also doesn't wash out the good. Something like that. I think that's the quote. Stannis Baratheon, good washing out bad. I love how the Google actually said Stannis Baratheon and then good washing machine. I don't think that's the thing. Yeah, there you go. A good act does not wash out the bad, nor a bad act the good. Each should have its own reward. You were a hero, a smuggler. This is when I'm pretty sure he talked to Davos Seaworth about that. But that's like a really good idea, right? Where it's like, yeah, it's like I don't necessarily think it's necessarily 100% right, but yeah, you should look at each individual thing. If someone does a good thing, that's a good thing. If someone does a bad thing, that's a bad thing. That doesn't mean they're necessarily a good person. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and human beings, listen, we can F up. It is what it is, right? Like that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen to every single person over here. No one is going to be perfect every single time. And that's why I usually hate it when people are like, let's say I'm like, oh, I really like the work of, I'm just going to take someone, oh, I really like some videos of Jordan Peterson. Let's just say, I would say that, right? Now, some of you might have had a reaction. Some of you might have said, yeah, that's good. Some of you might have said, that's a horrible person. It's like, if I say I like some of the work of this person, this does not mean I agree with every single thing. And the fact that you even have to say this, it's so weird to me, where it's like, I could, you know, maybe I don't like, it's just so strange to me that there has to be this like separation. This should come implicitly, right? There should be an implicit sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I guess that gets back to the very point of the video where I said, don't let them poison your mind. Similarly, if you can take a positive thing from anyone, let's go for it. And don't let them poison your mind. Don't take in advice that you feel in your gut to be wrong, or that you feel could, I wouldn't say harm you necessarily, but like that could be contrary to where you want to go. Let's say it like that. I think that's a fair way to sort of phrase it. Yeah, that's a little bit of a thought. I'll remind you again, and I will say it again. Don't let them poison your mind. Think for yourself. I know that it is difficult and it is hard, but it is worth it in the end. And this is the end. So until next time.